Robert Redford has always been more than a movie star. For decades, he has stood as a symbol of charm, strength, and artistic excellence in Hollywood. Known for unforgettable films like Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid and The Sting, Redford built a career that many could only dream of. But as he reached his late 80s, time began to slow him down. The man who once climbed mountains and rode horses with ease was now facing the limits of aging. In his quiet home in Utah, surrounded by family and nature, Redford spent his last years in deep reflection. His daughter, Amy Redford, recently shared details about those final days, and her words have left fans around the world in tears. Amy described her father as thoughtful, but often silent, weighed down by memories from the past. The fame and admiration he once enjoyed no longer mattered to him. What mattered most were the people he loved, the losses he suffered, and the legacy he hoped to leave behind. According to Amy, her father's final days were not about fear or regret, but about finding peace after a life filled with both triumph and tragedy. While the world saw Robert Redford as a confident and successful actor, Amy revealed that behind his calm appearance, her father carried deep emotional scars. His journey had not been as easy as it seemed. Born in Santa Monica, California, in 1936, Redford grew up in a modest family with simple values. He worked hard to achieve his dreams, but his youth was also marked by insecurity and inner conflict. In his early years, Redford struggled with alcohol and the pressure to succeed. He attended the University of Colorado but dropped out after academic and personal struggles. Seeking clarity, he moved to Europe, where he found comfort in painting and art. Amy shared that those years changed him deeply. Through painting, he discovered emotions he had long buried: sadness, guilt, and the need to understand himself. Though he never became a professional painter, that creative side helped shape his future as an actor and filmmaker. Amy said that the pain from those early failures and struggles remained in his heart. He carried them quietly through every role, every project, and every relationship. What people saw on screen was not just acting. It was the reflection of a man who had already lived through heartbreak, mistakes, and silent battles within himself. Amy Redford's confession also opened the door to some of the most painful moments in her father's life. The tragedies that shaped him as both a man and a father. In 1958, Robert Redford married his college sweetheart, Lola Van Wagenen. They were young, hopeful, and full of dreams for their future together. But just months after their first child, Scott, was born, tragedy struck. The baby died at only 10 weeks old due to a sudden illness. Redford rarely spoke about it publicly, but Amy revealed that it was a loss he never truly recovered from. The grief left a permanent mark on his heart. Later, Redford and Lola had 3 more children: Shauna, James, known as Jamie, and Amy. But the pain was not over. Jamie suffered from serious health problems throughout his life. He was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and later liver disease, requiring multiple transplants. Despite his fame, Redford spent countless nights in hospitals, sitting beside his son's bed, praying for him to survive. Amy recalled how exhausted her father looked, yet he never gave up on Jamie. His love for his children was endless, even as it broke his heart again and again. These family struggles, Amy explained, changed how her father saw life. He became more humble, more private, and more grateful for every simple moment of happiness. Robert Redford's marriage to Lola Van Wagenen was once filled with love and hope. But over time, the pressures of Hollywood and the weight of tragedy began to tear them apart. While Redford's fame grew rapidly during the 1970s and 1980s, his family life suffered. Long shooting schedules kept him away from home for months at a time, leaving Lola to care for their children alone. Amy said her parents loved each other deeply, but the emotional distance became too much. After 28 years of marriage, they decided to separate. Redford later admitted that the divorce was mutual but filled with regret. He had achieved everything the world could offer: fame, wealth, and respect. Yet he felt something was missing. Amy revealed that in his final years, her father often reflected on those choices. He wished he had spent more time with his family, that he had taken fewer roles, and had been there for every moment that mattered. But even through his sorrow, he remained a loving father and a man determined to make peace with his past. Amy said that her father's heart was heavy with love, not bitterness. He never blamed others. Instead, he saw his mistakes as part of his human journey, one that taught him to value forgiveness, humility, and connection. As Amy continued her emotional confession, she revealed that her father's life was shadowed by repeated loss. In 2020, Redford's son Jamie passed away at the age of 58 after years of fighting liver cancer. For Redford, this was one of the hardest moments of his life. He had already lost one son in infancy, and now he had to face that pain again. Amy described how her father withdrew from the public eye after Jamie's death. He chose to stay at his Utah ranch, surrounded by family and nature, where he found some peace in the quiet. But behind his calm expression, he was grieving deeply. He often spoke about Jamie with pride, remembering his son's passion for filmmaking and environmental activism. Yet, Amy said she could see the sadness in his eyes. The death of Jamie reopened every old wound from the past: the loss of Scott, the end of his marriage, and the death of close friends like Paul Newman. Redford had spent his entire life portraying strong characters, but in reality, he was a man who had endured more pain than most people ever know. Amy revealed that in his last years, her father often said that love was both the greatest gift and the heaviest burden a person could carry. Beyond his family, Robert Redford's friendships also played a huge role in his life, and losing those friends broke him in ways that few ever saw. Amy shared that one of her father's closest friends was actor Paul Newman. Their bond began in the late 1960s when they starred together in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Their chemistry was not just on screen. They became like brothers off-screen too. They trusted, supported, and teased each other through life's ups and downs. When Paul Newman passed away in 2008, Redford was devastated. He said losing Newman felt like losing a part of himself. Amy recalled that her father often spoke of their friendship with deep affection, remembering the laughter they shared and the advice Newman gave him during difficult times. Another friend Redford never forgot was actress Natalie Wood, who tragically died in 1981. Her death shocked Hollywood and left Redford heartbroken. He always remembered her kindness from his early career days. Amy said her father carried these friendships close to his heart, even as the years passed. They reminded him of a time when dreams still felt new and life was full of possibility. In his final days, those memories brought both comfort and sorrow, as he looked back on a life filled with love, loss, and unforgettable bonds. As Robert Redford approached the end of his life, he spent most of his time in quiet reflection. The man who had once ruled Hollywood now preferred the peaceful surroundings of his Utah ranch. Amy described her father as thoughtful and calm, no longer seeking fame or attention. His health had weakened, and the strong athletic figure people remembered was now fragile. But despite the pain and aging, Redford never stopped caring about the world. He focused on environmental projects, his Sundance Institute, and spending time with his children and grandchildren. Amy said that her father's greatest wish was not to be remembered just as a movie star, but as someone who tried to make the world a better place. He believed in giving back, protecting nature, and helping young artists find their voice. In his last years, he found peace in the simple things: the sound of the wind, the laughter of his family, and the beauty of the land he loved. Amy's confession showed the world that Robert Redford's final days were not just about sadness, but also about strength and purpose. Behind the legend was a man who lived, loved, suffered, and finally found peace. His story reminds us that even those who seem larger than life carry invisible burdens, but true greatness lies in facing them with grace, courage, and love. Even though Robert Redford was known around the world, very few people truly understood the kind of person he was when the cameras stopped rolling. Amy Redford explained that her father never enjoyed the noise of Hollywood parties or red carpet events. He was polite but always preferred quiet conversations to big crowds. Fame to him was a side effect of doing what he loved, not something to chase. Amy remembered how, as a child, she and her siblings would often visit their father on movie sets. He was always calm, patient, and kind to everyone, from the actors to the crew members carrying equipment. He never acted like a big star, she said. He treated everyone with the same respect. That humility came from his childhood, when his parents taught him the value of hard work and kindness. He carried those lessons throughout his career. Even at the height of his fame, when his face was on magazine covers all over the world, Redford stayed grounded. He used his fame not to show off, but to support causes that mattered, from protecting the environment to helping young artists find their voice. Amy said her father believed that true success wasn't measured by awards or money, but by how much you gave back to others. That belief shaped every decision he made in his later years. After his painful divorce from Lola Van Wagenen, Robert Redford spent several years focusing on his career and his children. But love eventually found him again, this time in the form of artist and environmental activist CelebrityNews. The two met in the 1990s, and their connection grew slowly but deeply. Amy shared that her father's relationship with CelebrityNews was different. It was peaceful, mature, and built on mutual respect. She understood him in a way few people did, Amy explained. She gave him balance and comfort. The couple married in 2009 in a quiet ceremony in Hamburg, Germany, surrounded by close friends and family. Sebiel shared her husband's passion for nature and creativity, and together they created an environment filled with art, music, and reflection. Amy said that her father often called Sebiel his partner in peace. In his final years, she became his greatest support, encouraging him to paint again, to rest, and to find joy in small things. Together, they spent hours walking through their Utah ranch, talking about life, love, and the world. For Redford, this second marriage was a gift. A reminder that even after pain and loss, the heart can still heal. He once told Amy, "Love doesn't fade. It changes shape. It becomes quieter, wiser, and more grateful." That gentle wisdom defined his final chapter. Robert Redford's contribution to cinema is impossible to measure. From The Sting and All the President's Men to Out of Africa and The Natural, his films captured not just characters, but the spirit of their times. He wasn't just an actor. He was a storyteller who cared about meaning. Amy said her father would spend hours reading scripts, searching for stories that said something real about people and society. He didn't want to just entertain, she explained. He wanted to make people think. His directorial work reflected that philosophy. In 1980, Redford directed Ordinary People, his first film behind the camera, and it won the Academy Award for Best Director. Yet, true to his humble nature, Redford never bragged about it. Instead, he spoke about how difficult it was to direct a story about pain and healing. That film, about a family broken by tragedy, was deeply personal for him. Amy later realized it was her father's way of expressing emotions he couldn't talk about: grief, guilt, and forgiveness. Through cinema, he processed his own wounds. Over time, he became a symbol of integrity in an industry often driven by ego. Colleagues described him as calm, intelligent, and deeply respectful of others. He rarely lost his temper and never treated anyone as unimportant. To younger filmmakers, he was a mentor. To his fans, he was a hero. But to his family, he was simply Dad, a man who loved to sit by the